there are a few joints in the body that take extra impact with floor work, like the knees. So whether you're new to floor work or you're feeling a little bit of pain in that area, this series is for you. I'll give you some exercises that allow you to mobilize, strengthen, and then also stretch this particular joint in an effort to avoid injury or help relieve any pain you might be feeling in your knees. Let's get started. We'll start with some mobilizing. So just to start, take a few walks in place. This is a great way to, in a very low impact manner, just start to mobilize the knees. And you could come back to this video as a warm-up, or you could increase any of these exercises, the reps that you're doing, in order to make it more of a workout. All right, then we'll just bring our feet together and take some circles of the joint. So mobilizing, meaning that we're just bringing a little bit of juice into the joint. Switch your direction. Not that we're trying to move into a full range yet. You're just starting to gently wake up the joint. You should start to feel a little bit more warmth already. All right, now we'll move through 3 strengthening exercises. I'm gonna head to a wall. If you don't have a wall, you could instead just take regular squats for the duration that I'm at the wall. I'm just gonna take a classic wall sit. So I'm heading back here, and we'll just hang out here for 45 seconds. And as I'm all the way back here, hello, I will just talk you through the goals of our strengthening exercises. So ideally, whether you're moving through squats or in a wall sit, what you want to be doing when you're strengthening is not just focusing on the quads, but focus on the whole of the leg that supports the knee joint. So that would be quads, but it also is hamstrings and glutes. So a lot of injury can occur if the whole leg itself isn't actually equally strengthened to protect that joint. So while you're here or moving through your squats, see if you can actually activate a little more purposefully your hamstrings as well as your quads, which will have likely just automatically turned on. But I try to really purposefully engage my hamstrings so that I'm really awakening the whole leg structure here itself. I couldn't tell you how long we've been here, but I'm going to say let's go for 5 more. 3, 2, 1. Wonderful. Great. Okay, shake that out and start to come back away from your wall if you were there. And then we're just going to move into one more exercise for your glutes. So let's come down to a supported side plank. And again, I'm trying to find a nice long line here. Oftentimes I see that folks will break in the hips. You want to find a long line as if you're in a plank. And then for today, let's open up the knee and then send the heel up to the ceiling to close. So we'll open for a little clamshell and then knees together. So you're working more than just your upper outer glutes. We're really trying to then get the glute max in there as well. Glutes are really helpful for protecting the knee joint. Let's do 2 more. Open, knees together. Last one. And hopefully you're feeling this on both sides, i.e. your supporting side as well as the working. Let's try the other side. So you'll open and knee together to close. Open. Two more. Great. Excellent. So after the strengthening portion, your legs should feel more than warm and just a little bit tired, especially if you're moving into a class after this. You don't want to overwhelm the muscles, but really awakening them before you start to move is a great idea. Let's stretch. All right, let's start with a standing quad stretch. So I try to think about bringing my two knees together and then again find some length in the hips. So trying not to break in the hips, but finding length. And then pulling that heel as close as you can to the sit bone and breathing deeply as you stretch. Again, flexibility in the knee joint itself comes also from flexibility in the muscles around it. So you might have tight quads or hamstrings or glutes. We'll go ahead and switch, which might lead to feeling more tight in the knee joint itself when you're moving into full flexion. Find some length through that hip. And go ahead and release as you're ready. Then we'll move through a full range squat, and this will be, we're not just fully softening the whole time into this full range squat, and this full range might look very different for all of us. So I'm going to start with a wide leg stance, not terribly wide, and I'm going to move into my fullest range at this point, but I'm not going to fully sink or dump into the joint yet. So I'm feeling quite active in the legs. And on my exhale, I'll just soften into the squat, finding a little bit more of a released feeling. If you're familiar with yoga, this is like a malasana. And then let's reactivate the legs. So find your activation through the quads, hamstrings, and glutes. And then on the exhale, let yourself soften into the squat. You might shift a little bit this time from one to the other. Sometimes this feels nice on my lower back. And then one more time, let's reactivate the legs. Lift the hips a little bit. Maybe this time you find a bit of rotation and find that softness in the hips and as full a range as you have currently in the knee. And then get yourself out of that however feels good for you. Lastly, we'll just take some rotation through the ball of the foot. So the heels and the knees will stay where they are. And we're just going to find some space in the knee joint by mobilizing the foot. I always get a pop in my knee that feels like I have a lot of new space. You can also flex the feet out and around. And we'll go to the other direction, out and around, creating space in the joint. And then let that go. So in floor work, I think the moment of caution is especially when you're moving through full range, full flexion, and this is where it will put a lot of pressure on the knees, like a a full spaghetti. This is just a lot of pressure on the knee joint itself. And so if you're starting to feel like you have pain, I would approach those moments of full flexion with like a big beep, 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 caution, caution, and slow it down and try to see if you can strip away some momentum in order to give yourself time to feel more muscularly active, so that it's not just a full heaviness in the joint, but that you're accessing all of the muscles that you have just recruited from your strengthening session to help you support that joint. The other thing to look for is noticing your tracking. So making sure that you're not landing with any kind of impact in this position. This is really quite hard on the knees. So always being sure that, especially if you're moving through something where you're going up and over, that you're really clearly moving through the correct tracking and are finding a support for how the knee is coming down to the ground each time. Okay, thanks for joining me. To your happy, healthy knees.